It is my great pleasure to welcome Marie Forleo today. Oprah, who also had a great pleasure of chatting with Marie, named her a thought leader for the next generation. Marie built one of Inc. 500 fastest growing companies, and her mission is to help you build the life you love and use your gifts to change the world. She is the creator of the award winning online show Marie TV with over 35 million views on YouTube, with an audience in 195 countries. She's the founder of BSchool, an online business school for modern entrepreneurs. Through her Change Your Life, Change the World initiative, every product purchased helps support a person in need. Thank you so much for coming out to chat with us today, Marie.
Oh, Valerie, it is my pleasure. It's so fun to be with you.
As you know, I'm a B schooler, 2015, and in the world of entrepreneurship, B school was my gateway drug.
Yes.
What was yours?
You know, I actually had my first entrepreneurial experience when I was 9. I started babysitting in my neighborhood. And while in and of itself, babysitting isn't typically entrepreneurial, I found myself constantly looking for ways to add more value to the family that I was
Mm.
babysitting for. And so I discovered that the mom in the family, she was a makeup fan. So she had
Huh.
lots of different cosmetics. And I could tell, even though I didn't have much exposure to things that were fancy or nice, these were high quality cosmetics. And
Mm.
I looked and they were really disorganized and they just seemed like they were kind of scattered. And I said, hey, I could organize all of this for you and I could clean it up for you. And if you pay me X amount of more dollars, this will all be done by the time you guys get home. And, I'll put the kids to bed, blah, blah, blah. So I started upselling. And I remember there was another time when the family, they, wanted me to watch the kids, which was great. But then they were also having like a daytime 4th of July party. And this was back in the day when there were still CDs, right? Everyone was using CDs, MP3s, and digital music that
Mm-hmm.
didn't exist yet. So I upsold them again on not only, you know what, I can keep my eye on the kids, I will watch them, but I will also play DJ and make sure that you and all your friends are going to have like the best music going and I'll keep the kids happy. So that was my little entrepreneurial gateway drug because I realized very quickly that if I saw an opportunity to add value, and explain how good this would be for my customers and say, would you like this? They would often say, yes. And I'm very happy to pay you more. So that was my entrepreneurial gateway drug to realizing that, whatever someone says they're going to give you in return for your services, that if you're willing to think expansively, you could get paid expansively.
Ah, this is just beautiful. You were always service oriented. And
Yeah.
even at age 9, you saw this opportunity. And it sounds like you were really motivated by what problems can I solve for people? How can I lead with love and make money doing it?
Absolutely. And, I saw how busy they were and they were good people. And I could tell that they were,
Ah.
frantically just trying to keep their lives together. And I just saw opportunities for where I thought I could help out.
That's great. And I know that's what brings a lot of people to B school, that same drive, that same love that they feel
Yeah.
for people. And I'm wondering, well, entrepreneurial journey is not all a straight line, right? I'm just wondering,
Never.
never, what success blocks, what inner obstacles did you have to tackle on your
Oh,
journey?
my goodness. Have to tackle. I mean, I'm still tackling them to this
Mm.
day. So I think the big ones for me, especially in the beginning, was so much insecurity and self doubt. I started as a 23-year-old life coach, which the very logical, rational my mind was screaming like, this is stupid. This is the most ridiculous idea ever. You're 23 years old. Who is going to hire a 23-year-old life coach? This is dumb. So my inner voice and my inner critic, she's from Jersey. She's harsh, very, very harsh.
Gotta love her.
She's yelling very loud. So all of the myriad of kind of thoughts that cascade out from that. I'm not smart enough. I'm not intelligent enough. I'm not sophisticated enough. I don't have enough experience. In that time, you're so young. You're too young to be taken seriously. You're a woman. What do you know about business? I
Mm.
mean, you just kind of go down the list.
Yeah.
all of the different things. Also having some insecurity just around formal education. Even though I went to school and I studied business finance as an undergrad, I don't have an MBA, and they didn't teach entrepreneurial studies at my school. So, everything that I learned was kind of more of the kind of cold, calculated facts, the very behind the scenes bits of
Mm-hmm.
business. So I never understood really, wow, what is it going to take to do this? And at that particular time, in history, we're talking about like 1999, 2000, 2001, the world of digital business and online business and even communicating digitally was still in its embryonic stage. It was
Mm-hmm.
still very new. So there were all these things that I just didn't understand and didn't know and felt incredibly insecure about. Those were some of my
Ah.
thoughts. And I'd say, another one, Valerie, um, this one has plagued me my entire life. I figured out probably 2 or 3 years into my entrepreneurial journey, I'm not meant to do one thing.
Huh.
And one of the challenges I faced was this inner drive, this inner kind of craving to explore different industries, to have different pieces of myself be expressed. But all of the literature, all of the books, all of the kind of success advice that I came across at that time was directing me towards the opposite. Narrow
Mm.
choose a niche, be known for one thing. Even within the world of coaching, right? You couldn't necessarily be a
Yeah.
life coach. That was kind of the dumb way to go. It was too general. And logically, I understood that. I even agreed with that advice. But something in my body and intuitively wouldn't let me pursue that fully. Every time I tried to choose one thing or narrow down or get hyper focused, I felt like I was cutting off a limb. And
Mm.
it completely stifled my creativity. It completely made me feel like I was weird, like I didn't fit in, like I was broken, like maybe I had some kind of cognitive disorder because I couldn't focus on one thing. So, getting back to your question, those were some of the obstacles that I faced, especially in those first, 5 to 7 years.
Wow. Just putting things in perspective, despite facing this barrage of obstacles and everything that we've just taken in from the external messages that we've been receiving, right? Like you're a woman, what do you know about business, and you don't have formal education, et cetera, et cetera. And then it becomes that in the critic voice. So that's a lot to deal with. And despite you've built a very successful business, you're serving millions of people. So it just goes to show that it is so worth it staying on the path. And I'm just, yeah.
Yeah, not to interrupt you, but it is so about persistence.
Mm,
It is so about persistence. One of the things that I see so often now and I understand it. So I have so much empathy for it. I have so much compassion for it because I remember that feeling. But a lot of folks, they'll be in something for like a year or even maybe 2 or 3 years. And they're like, it's not working. I'm like, I know that. But you know what? Things didn't really even start taking off for me. And when I say start taking off, I'm talking on a tiny level until like year 7. And sometimes
oh,
I laugh and think about how different would my life have been if somewhere along those like first couple of horrendous years, I was like, this ain't working. It's too hard. I give up. Like,
yeah.
I can't even, that's not really part of my nature, but sometimes it's fun to fantasize about an alternate reality. And so I just want to tell anyone that's listening right now, no matter what stage of the journey you're at, if it's hard and you're struggling, you're not alone. It doesn't mean you're not supposed to be an entrepreneur. It doesn't mean that you're not talented, that you're not gifted, or that you're doing something wrong. It's part of the growth process.
Yeah, I so appreciate you saying that. And I also appreciate your philosophy behind B School, or the policy that you have, or both. Once a B schooler, always a B schooler.
Yes.
Because this is such a home for an entrepreneur. It becomes such a lonely place when you get on this journey because people in your life gradually understand less and less and less of what your life is all about now. And you
Yes.
need these people who understand. And so for me, it is such a lifeline, this community. And it's such a privilege to have a front row seat to their journeys. And I know I can always come in and just like let my hair down and share what's going on with me, ask for feedback, ask for support, and the community is so generous and giving. And that goes to show that, or to the point that you made about, well, you started getting traction like 7 years in, and how many people quit
Yes.
before that point. And so this community is so valuable. It's so grounding. When you think about quitting, it just, you see other people's journeys, and you see people who started with like one client and now they have multi-million dollar businesses.
Yes. And it's another great point. We all start out at zero.
Yeah.
Like I started off with no subscribers. I started off
Mm-hmm.
just like everyone watching, anyone that you admire, no matter what industry they're in. 9 times out of 10, most people started from nothing, and they each have a unique path and how they grew to where they are today. But most often, and I interview a lot of wonderfully creative, quote unquote, successful. I say quote unquote because success comes in so many definitions, but
Yeah.
whose work I admire, people whose work I appreciate, people who I feel like are contributing something meaningful to this world. And there's so many similar themes where it takes time. It takes so much more time than we like to imagine it'll take. And
Mm.
I feel like, especially for women, we can be really critical of ourselves and think it's supposed to happen fast. And we're living in a society right now where it's almost, energetically pushing us. We have these phones and everything is instant notifications and instant gratification. But for what really matters in our life, cultivating strengths and wisdom and expertise and experience, those things don't happen in a weekend. Those things don't happen in a year. Practices take us over the course of our lifetimes, and there's a reason for that. There's a richness in that. And to fight against it is really fighting against the nature of the universe. And when we can embrace that, okay, this is going to be a journey. This is going to be an adventure. There's going to be ups and downs, and I can find a tribe to travel with. Well, then the whole paradigm shifts, and all of a sudden you're not broken. You're an adventurer. You're, a pioneer out there creating goodness, and you have fellow travelers along for the journey, and you can be a little kinder to yourself.
I just love what you're saying. I feel like tears coming up because it's so true. And the tears are both gratitude for being able to be on this journey, and tears of sadness for those who didn't see it all the way through and maybe quit right before
Yeah.
getting that traction. And I'm wondering, did you ever come close to quitting? I know you said it's not in your nature, but were there
Yes.
moments when you could see, well, it would have been easier to quit?
Well, I'll tell you this. So here's my honest answer about that.
Mm-hmm.
I have, so both had in the early days and still have to this day, right? This is like basically 18 years into the journey. Um, in the early days, I had so much despair, so many tears. I grew up Catholic. I went to a Catholic university, and I had just gotten out of college when I really started everything. I was still kind of close to that experience of life where I was very into learning and everything. And so I would open my journals and I would pen these angry, tearful pleas to God, like, what's wrong with me? Like, why isn't anything working? And so I had tons of points of dark nights of the soul. So many times where I felt useless, I felt disillusioned, I felt maybe this is just a fantasy and it's never going to come to life. However, with that said, because I had already gone on a bit of an odyssey, I had worked on Wall Street, I had worked in the magazine industry, for very reputable publications like Gourmet Magazine and Mademoiselle. And so I had these experiences in the quote unquote normal corporate world. And I'd been there and done that, and I'd seen that pain, and I'd experienced firsthand the absolute deadness I felt in my soul. And I wasn't willing to go back there. So I never thought about quitting because I knew the other side and I was not willing to live that. So I kind of figured, you know what? Maybe I'll wind up bartending my whole life and also doing this coaching thing and, doing whatever I had to do to keep a roof over my head. But the idea of going back to a corporate job and like quitting what I was trying to do never entered my mind. But that didn't mean that I wasn't in absolute just creative despair, in tears a lot.
Thank you for being real.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I have times every year. I mean, that are really difficult. So I don't necessarily think about quitting, but I'm like, oh, okay, here comes another thing. All right,
Mm,
figure this one out. All right, what do we got to learn on this journey? What is this here to teach us? So I
mm,
don't think those experiences ever go away. I think that anyone that tells you that you kind of make it to a certain point and then all of a sudden you're kind of, dancing on rainbows and tossing out daisies and there's like unicorns galloping across, sprinkling diamonds on you, and you're like, you're good. That's not real. That I don't know anyone that happens unless they're smoking something or they're doing, having a little hallucinatory fun times and they're existing in a whole different world. But in reality, no, that doesn't happen.
oh no. So what?
That doesn't mean that there's not a lot of joy and there's not a lot of celebration. My point is there are always ups and downs, always ups
Mhm.
and downs.
Yeah, thank you for that. So, if not unicorns, what? So, what happens in reality? What
Yeah,
now that you have a lot of success, right? You've
yeah.
built a very powerful company, and you do so much good in the world from through your charity work. So, from the outside looking in, your life is perfect, right? Like so many of us want to be Marie, right? Um, and that's why a lot of people enter B school, right, to get on this path that will allow them to do as much good as you're doing. So, what's coming up for you now? What success blocks or inner obstacles are coming up for you these
Oh,
days?
yeah. So two things. One is, first, I want to mention for anyone that has that idea, like, oh, it's perfect. I would encourage you to check out two things. One, last year I started a vlog called Marie Unplugged, which is like literally me running around with a camera. So you're going to see me sweating in my house, working out, like just kind of doing all the things that are not my show, which I want to make it really clear that's a show. That has evolved to be a show. It has a set. We have wardrobe. Like, I didn't start out like that. I started talking on a webcam just like you and I are, which I love. But so that's a show and that's particular. But if you want to see me on a day-to-day basis, go check out Marie Unplugged. I think there's 5 or 6 episodes and you'll see exactly how I kind of run around like a crazy woman every day. Two, Instagram, I talk a lot about when things are going right and things are going wrong. And y'all see me without the makeup, you see without any of the things. So that's that. To answer your question more directly, though, what's coming up for me now? This is another huge growth phase for me. So I'm working on my next book. And let me tell you, Valerie, this thing is kicking my, I mean, in the most major way. It is so challenging and so difficult. And, for 18 years, in terms of my show, everything on the website, B School, every email that's come out, every single thing that we've done, I write those words. Those
Mm,
are my words.
wow.
And this book is so challenging and so difficult, and all of the insecurity and self-doubt and like, is this going to be any good? Like, do people really even want, does anybody care? Is it, why am I doing this? All of the things, all of the things. So that for me is what I'm working through at the moment. And again, experience has taught me, it's like, this is just the next kind of valley of my growth. Like, this is the place
Mm,
that's dark and challenging and new and different. And I'm just like kind of doing my best to find the joy and find the lessons in it, because it's not easy.
ah, finding the joy and finding the lessons in every dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. And best of luck with your book.
Oh,
This
thank you.
sounds like quite a deep dive of a process.
It is. And, I'm lucky to have great people around me. But as you know, and as everyone listening knows, no one can kind of do that work for you. You can have great support, but at the end of the day, it comes down to you getting your work down on the page. And like, I've had friends like, oh, why don't you hire a ghostwriter? And I was like, hey, there's no shame in that game. That's awesome. But this feels like it has to come from me.
Ah,
Like all of this, it's new stuff, it's new insights, it's new everything. And not that I don't have people to help me edit and help me shape and, all of that wonderful stuff. But getting it all out is,
mm,
it's not easy for me at the moment.
mm. Yeah, and and yet you're doing it, and I'm so appreciating that despite this inner talk, despite the inner critic,
Yes.
you're diving in, and you're trusting that. intuition, just like you have been trusting it all along. When people were telling you, well, you have to stick with one thing. You can't be
Yes,
multi-passionate, multi-talented. And even the logical mind would agree, but you went with your gut. And this is such a feminine way of doing business. And it's
yeah,
so validating to see it really pay off for you, not just monetarily, but in terms of what you have created.
absolutely.
And I can't wait to see how your book will propel this yet to the next level.
Thank
And yeah, this whole entrepreneurial journey is really such a journey of transformation, right? Finding yourself, finding your voice, just really the best personal growth
you.
course ever.
Ever. Yes.
So, and I'm wondering, what would you like really love to master at this point in terms of your own journey?
I think for me, the one of like the kind of the core life lessons that just I think is part of what I will face my entire life. Who knows? I don't want to lock that in place, but you just never know. But it's been consistent. It's a couple things. It's being kinder to myself because I have a really, really, really harsh inner critic. I mean, vicious, vicious at times. So continuing to find ways to have more compassion for me and to be kinder to me. So that is an area that is always up. I think the other thing is trusting myself. I tend to be extraordinarily thorough, like on every level. And that's a strength at times, but it can also be an Achilles heel where it prevents me from trusting. While I trust my instincts in many, many ways, there's still many ways in which I don't. There's still many areas in which, it's like, you know what, that actually is good enough. You don't have to polish 70 million times. You don't have to look at it from 16 different lenses in order to be comprehensive for someone. And so I think that's another area for me of continuing to like have a strength that really works, but then to catch when it goes over to being a detriment, if that makes any kind of sense.
Ah, it makes perfect sense, that discernment, because every strength has a flip side of a
Yes.
weakness, and every weakness has a strength.
Yes. So those are two places for me that are kind of fun to keep investigating and diving into.
Thank you for sharing, and I wonder how many of us identify with that, right?
Absolutely.
So we're all in it together, and again, it's fun to travel with people who get you, your
Yeah.
peers, your fellow entrepreneurs who are also courageously facing it day in
Yeah.
and day out.
Yes. And there's no hierarchy. You know what I mean? There's just one of the things that I think is so awesome about this journey. And one of the things I actually love so much about B School is that we're in this to share ideas together. Like everyone brings such incredible, unique strengths into the table and such incredible, unique perspectives. And it's like we're all there to learn from each other every single year. I'm in the community and someone's like, hey, have you ever seen this new software? Have you guys heard about this? I'm like, oh no, let me go check that. Wow, like that
Yeah.
is awesome. And so I love that spirit of everyone sharing in an effort and with the desire to lift everyone up.
Yeah.
Like
I,
I know it all and y'all are going to listen to me. It's like, oh no, I just have a particular passion and I'm really gifted at certain things. So I want to get that out there while I still have the chance and I'm still breathing. But, my strengths are the complement to a lot of other people's strengths. And I need all of the people, just like the folks need me. So I think that spirit of sharing and interconnectedness and that we can all take care of each other.
yeah.
I think that's one of the other things I really love about B School because you feel it.
You feel it. I can attest to that as a B schooler. There is no hierarchy, and you see B schoolers who've already built multi seven figure businesses, and they're sticking around. They're offering value. It's easy to connect with them. I've interviewed a bunch of them for the show, and they're so generous. They're so giving. And likewise, it's fun to go back and offer to beginners. It's such a circle of life
Yes.
that keeps nourishing everyone
Yes.
involved.
And I feel like also too, when folks come in who kind of are new to entrepreneurship, often they come with this other wealth of experience and these fresh perspectives. And you're like, oh my goodness, they are so unjaded. They have all of these gifts to bring us who might have been in the game a little bit longer. So again, it's like everyone has something
Yeah.
to learn from each other.
It's just hugely validating. Whatever step of the journey you're in, you're going to be so edified, validated, upheld, nurtured. That's
Seen.
how I feel. I just,
Yeah,
whenever I'm having a down day or an up day or a question, I log into BSchool. That's really my first line of defense.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Thank you for holding that space. And we're circling the airport in terms of the time that we have together.
Yeah.
So I just have a couple of questions to kind of give us a bird's eye view on where you are now. Well, is there anything about your success that you could not have anticipated? Something that you know now about success that you didn't know when you started out, if that makes sense? Anything that's surprising?
I think that there is so much joy available. I think I had my head down for so long and was working so diligently and so hard. And that's part of my DNA. It's part of how I grew up. It's part of my kind of my familial culture is just put your head down and work, 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 work.
Mm,
But I think the sweetness and the joy that comes, like the fruits of your labor, that can eventually be there, and
mm,
how rich and touching it can be when you're able to share that with other people. Like, for example, on my team, I can't tell you how moving it is to me to have primarily women. I run my business, I own my business 100%. And almost everyone, with the exception of like 2 to 3 people, are female. They're
mhm.
mostly the breadwinners in their family. So they are the ones that are kind of leading the charge and taking care of their destiny for their families, financially and otherwise. And to have like the cards come in and the letters, like seeing them buy their first houses and like do these major milestones in life, and having such gratitude and seeing them grow and transform, like I couldn't have expected how fulfilling that would be.
Wow. So, what's motivating you now? What's driving you forward?
For me, it's so about knowing what's possible for people and finding all of the different ways that both bring me joy to share those possibilities, and finding the folks that really want to hear it. Finding the folks who are hungry for this message and these tools and these connections. And that's what's exciting to me. For
Yeah.
me, it's about health and growth and fulfillment and contribution. And that's kind of never changed. And at the stage I'm at right now, it's just we're living in such a beautifully connected world. So it's just that much more fun to find and create new ways to reach new people.
And I know BSchool reaches millions of people like every year when you deliver these free workshops
Yes.
that lead to opening the doors to the next generation of B schoolers. So I
Yes.
know these are not to be missed. I actually watch them every year and I learn something new every time. So I'm so excited to be sharing these along with this beautiful conversation. So Marie, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And just one thing I want to say for our listeners who have not experienced you in person, when I ran into you in person in New York City, I was just so stunned by how real you are and how present you are and how giving, like 100% you are. And so I want everybody listening to know that what you see, like this nice polished look, like Marie is even more astonishing in person because she's such a giver. She gives from the heart, and it
You.
comes through everything you do. And we get so much benefit out of it in B School. So thank you so much for being who you are and doing what you do.
Thank you for this conversation. It was fantastic. And thanks for everyone listening and sharing your day with us.
Hey, I got a very important announcement for you. Please pay attention. If after watching Marie's free workshop, or maybe even before that, maybe you already know that already, you feel drawn to becoming a B schooler, I have a scholarship to give away. And the way to get your hands on that scholarship is to email me at valerie@drvalerie.com for details. Basically, it will involve sharing about BSchool with people. And that's how we as women create a lot of value in the world, by sharing with other women the value of something that we found. So if you receive value from this podcast, if you receive value from Marie's workshop, and if you yourself feel that that gift that you have deserves to be shining in the world, and you deserve to be paid handsomely for it, even if just like a little part of you suspects that that may be true, and that's enough to juice you up about becoming a B-schooler, make sure to email me and let me know. Valerie@drvalerie.com. Put BSchool 2018 in the subject line, and I'll send you exactly what you need to for your chance to get that scholarship. I only have one, but it's very valuable, not only in the monetary sense, but it's very valuable in terms of getting that lifetime membership in BSchool, a community of 20,000 entrepreneurs and counting. It's going to be much larger after this enrollment. I'm a member, and I would not be where I am today in my life and business if not for BSchool. As you heard me share with Marie on this interview, it was my drug of choice, my gateway drug, and now a drug of choice on my entrepreneurial journey. It's a rare day that goes by that I don't log into BSchool Facebook group, where I can ask any question, ask for recommendations, ask for feedback, ask for support, share my wins. And this is an invaluable resource. So I hope that you are jazzed about it, that you are signing up for Marie's free workshop and see what this is all about. And if you are even a little bit considering BSchool, maybe you're considering becoming an entrepreneur, maybe you're already in business and you would like access to this amazing peer group. It's huge, it spans the globe. And that in itself is invaluable. As entrepreneurs, we know how valuable these peer groups are. People on the same journey that see us, support us, and can give us resources. And we can share with them at any time. All right. So it's never too early, and you're never too advanced to join BSchool. It will be just for slightly different reasons, but they're all really, really valuable. Even if a little bit of you is considering that they may be a good choice for you. See what's happening with my voice from this incredible excitement. Send me an email, Valerie@drvalerie.com, BSchool 2018 in the subject line, and I'll send you everything you need to know about how you can get a chance to get that scholarship by simply helping us spread the value of this free workshop, spread the word, share the good, send the ripples of high impact good into the world. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and here is to your success.